Good Yantiv. Shana Tova. I welcome members of Temple Emanu-El, as well as those that are streaming us live to our Kol Nidre Erev Yom Kippur service. You know, this is a very special anniversary. Very special anniversary. 50 years ago, on Yom Kippur, there was a left-handed pitcher for a certain team that I love, and many of you do not. But 50 years ago, Sandy Koufax decided not to pitch a World Series game. 50 years ago. And I think it's pretty special because it demonstrates, for someone who was not particularly religious, he understood that moment. He understood what the power of that moment really meant. This was a courageous and actually very brave man. And I would consider those elements of wonderful leadership. And we know leadership is absolutely vital and should never be taken for granted. We started a minhag, a beautiful custom, several years ago. For on this most solemn night, we take a moment to show our gratitude to the past presidents of this congregation, without whom we would not be the congregation we are today. So, after about 153 years, we have a lot of names. I will not read all of them, although I'm going to read some of the early ones because I think it's important to hear those names. But I invite you, if you are one of those past presidents, to please stand up when your name is called and remain standing. And if you're related to anyone that's read, please stand up as well. And so I'd like to begin with the first president of our congregation, who served for a total of 11 years. Did you hear that, Andrew? 11 years he served. So I don't hear any whining. 1861 to 1863, as well as 1865 to 1871, 1872 to 1875. Amazing. Max Bloom, Zichron Livracha, 1922 to 1925. Dr. Bert Hirsch, 1935 to 1936. Maurice Engelman, whose son just passed away about a little over a week ago, and who lived to 104, and he was a doctor in San Francisco for a very long time, actually died in his office at 104, Maurice's son, who I got to know pretty well. Pretty cool man. Maurice served our congregation 1939 to 1949. Those were very hard years. And those were the years when we had a fire at the temple and we had no place to go. And we didn't have the ability to rebuild yet because during World War II, no one was allowed to build. And so literally Maurice moved us, he led the move to where we are now. And later on we were able to build on that beautiful site. Herman Burns, 1949 to 1951, Zichron Livracha. Milton Fox, 1951 to 1953, Zichron Livracha. Sidney Gambord, 1959 to 1961. The Honorable George Barnett, 1961 to 1963. Sherman Neymark, 1961 to 1965. I don't know if he was able to make it this evening. Julian Forster, Zichron Livracha, 1968 to 1969. Phil Hammer, 1971 to 1973. Lee Axelrod, Zichron Livracha, 1974 to 1976. Cecil Weintraub, Zichron Livracha, 1976 to 1977. Harold Kahn, 1977 to 1978, Zichron Livracha. Reuben German, 1978 to 1979. Dr. Mike Kahn served 1979 to 1981, 1994 to 1996, and I had the pleasure of working with him 2011 to 2012. Jane Schwartz, 1981 to 1983. Our beloved Bob Crandell, Zichron Livracha, who served many times, 1983 to 1986, 2006 to 2007. Bert Burns, 1986 to 1988. Corinne Ravel-Retchen, 1988 to 1990. Rick Davis, who's actually going to have a procedure tomorrow and is in the hospital, but he's doing great, 1990 to 1992. We love you, Rick. Bob Hirsch, 1996 to 1998. The chair of my committee, the chair of the Rabbinic Search Committee that brought me here. So it's his fault, that man right there. Blame him, not me. My first president, Hank Stein, 1998 to 2000. Barry Cohen, 2000, 2002, and 2007. Steve Greenberg, 2002 to 2004, as well as 2009. Dan Lee, 2004 to 2006. Ruth Crandell, 2007, 2008. Steve Greenberg again, 2009. I already mentioned that. Sorry, Steve. Laura Danoff Robinson, 2009, 2011.
Oh, she's not here.
She's not here. Jeff Hoffman, 2012 to 2014. And he's actually ill, I believe, this evening. Let's take a look at this amazing group of leaders before us. I invite you to raise your hands with me as we have this opportunity to bless them as they have blessed us with their service. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and may God keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. May God's radiance shine upon you and be gracious to you. Yisad Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God always be a source of strength, of wholeness, completeness, and peace in your lives, as we all say. Amen. Amen. Thank you for your service. So, you ready for another round with Mishkan HaNefesh? Well, you're going to have another round, if you like it or not, at this point. I'm going to invite you actually in the very beginning, as Peter will be playing his cello so beautifully for us. On pages 4 through 8 are some really very thoughtful readings. I invite you to pick a reading that just kind of speaks to you, and go ahead and read that as we hear a little bit of cello music. We continue on page 9.
I'd like to...
Oh,
sorry.
Baruch atah Adonai, notea betochenu chaye olam. You are blessed, Eternal One, who places within us life everlasting.
We will continue still on page 9, and I'd like to invite Cheryl Magat to lead us in the lighting of Yom Kippur candle.
The human spirit is the lamp of God, searching out what lies within us. Guided by the flame of conscience, on this sacred night we search for truth.
Shine your light upon us as we strive to serve you. May we find safety in your faithful love.
We light the flame of healing and forgiveness on this atonement night. We give thanks for love. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel yom hakippurim. Source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic might, teaching us holiness through sacred obligations, giving us the mitzvah of bringing light on Yom Kippur. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic might, giving us life, upholding the life within us, and bringing us to this time.
We join together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel yom hakippurim. We join together in Shechianu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kiyemanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
And now that we've welcomed this Yontiv, I invite you to welcome the person next to you. Wish them a good Yontiv. We continue on page 14. Please rise if you are able. Oi. Yom Kippur, the Jewish people's festival of the soul, and Kol Nidre, its sacred portal, a night of deep emotions, a night, as the psalmist wrote, to rejoice with trembling. We rejoice at the sound of Kol Nidre, rhythmic words of release from vows, oaths, and promises to God we failed to keep. We tremble at the melody, music of spiritual amazement. It fills us with awe as we stand before God in Torah. We rejoice that we stand together, strengthened by community in this hour of shared weakness and humility. We tremble, for tonight we confess our flaws, admit our imperfection, and acknowledge a power far beyond our understanding. We rejoice that we commit ourselves to great endeavors because we feel so deeply and think so nobly. We tremble, for we find that our ideals are far greater than our ability. Our promises surpass our might. We rejoice in the freedom that is Kol Nidre's true gift, the freedom to begin a new year without fear of failure, to aspire to be God's image in the world. We tremble because we are mortal. We rejoice in our gratitude for life. We rejoice with trembling and enter Kol Nidre to face our humanity. We continue on page 16.
Zaru al tzadik, u'lishrei lev simcha. Zaru al tzadik, u'lishrei lev simcha. Zarua la tzadik ul yishrei lev simcha. Zarua la tzadik ul yishrei lev simcha. Kol
idrei esarei acharmei vekunamei vechinuyei vechinusei din tarna udeishte banna ude acharimna veda asarena veda asarena al nafshatana miyom kippurim ze ad yom kippurim haba Aleinu letova.
We read together on page 19 on the top of the page, "Let our speech be pure and our promises sincere. Let our spoken words, every vow and every oath, be honest and well-intentioned. Let our words cause no pain, bring no harm, and never lead to shame, distrust, or fear. And if, after honest effort, we are unable to fulfill a promise, a vow, or an oath, may we be released from its obligation and forgiven for our failure. Let our speech be pure and our promises sincere." Please be seated. Please rise if you're able as we continue on page 22. We join together. We join together. Chant your supplications to God in a melody that makes the heart weep, and your praises of God in one that will make it sing. Thus you will be filled with love and joy for the one who sees the heart.
Shine praises.
Thank you.
We continue on page 24. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhmah potech she'arim, ובתבונה משנה עתים, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים, במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור, ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ערבים.
Page 25. Day and night are yours, creative spirit of the universe, the muted colors of twilight, the radiance of dawn. Yours are the spreading wings of light, the deepening shadows of darkness, and ever-changing drama. In the human heart, too, the struggle between darkness and light unfolds. From sunlit heights of generosity, the human heart sinks to the gloomy depths of selflessness. Although we fail, you give us strength to rise again. You call on those who hurt through words or deed to break free from wrongdoings and return to you. All who hear your call to goodness are embraced. All who reject emptiness and evil find acceptance from you. We come into your presence this night of Kol Nidri, aware that our shortcomings and weaknesses are many. Yet encouraged by your promise of forgiveness, we choose freely the path of repentance, restoring wholeness to our lives and the holiness to the world. Blessed are you, Adonai, creator of the twilight and dusk.
Page 26.
Last
Please turn to page 27, and if you are able, stand up. We pause in reverence before the gift of self. The vessel shatters, the divine spark shines through, and our solidarity, self, becomes a link in Israel's golden chain. For what we are by sharing. And as we share, we move towards the light. We pause in reverence before the mystery of a presence, the near and far reality of God. Not union, but communion is our aim. And we approach the mystery with deeds. Words leads us to the edge of action, but it is deeds that brings us closer to the God of light. We pause in terror before the human deed, the cloud of annihilation, the concentrations of our death, the cruelly casual way of each to each. But in the stillness of this hour, we find our way from darkness into light. May we find our life so precious that we cannot but share it with the other. That light may shine brighter than 1,000 suns, with the presence among us of the God of light.
Please be seated as we continue with Ve'ahavta on pages 30 and 32.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu ha'dvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinanta necha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'beitecha u'v'levtecha b'derech u'shokvecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha Tizkaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'Elokechem Ani Adonai Elokechem asher hotzeeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim li'yot lachem le'Elohim Ani Adonai Elokechem. You shall love Adonai your God with all your mind, with all your soul, and with all your strength. Set these words which I command you this day upon your heart. Teach them faithfully to your children. Speak of them in your home and on your way, when you lie down and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand. Let them be a symbol before your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates.
Next page.
What? Be mindful of all my mitzvot and do them, thus you will become holy to your God. I, Adonai, am your God, who brought you out of Egypt to be your God. I, Adonai, your God.
Page 39. Our sages taught
It is proper to mention the Exodus from Egypt in our morning prayers and also at night. We celebrate the going out from Egypt in the morning light, full of confidence and vigor as we enter the new day. But in the evening, weary from the day's exertions, cast down and fearful at the coming of the night, what can the Exodus teach us then? Our nighttime prayer brings hope and trust in the future. As God did not abandon our people long ago through the long, dark night of exile, so the Holy One will be with us in time to come. To stand by the one you love, that is the true essence of faithfulness, the meaning of Emunah. So it is written in the Psalms, to proclaim your kindness in the morning and your faithfulness in the nights. Sing with joy in the mornings of your light. When light surrounds you and the world seems beautiful and good, and in the evenings of your life when you dwell in sorrow and the world seems dark, do not despair.
Please turn to page 43. When fears multiply and danger threatens, when sickness comes, when death confronts us, it is God's blessing of shalom that sustains us and upholds us, lightening our burden, dispelling our worry, restoring our strength, renewing our hope, reviving us.
ויתקדש שמי רבם, בעלמא תברח ירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחייכו בית ישראל, בעגלה, בעגלה, ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן, יהי שמי רבם מבורך, לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה, ויתהלל שמי דקודשה, בריחו לעילה, מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה, ואמרו אמן.
We continue with our tefillah on pages 48 and following. Please rise if you are able.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avoteinu ve'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka ve'Elohei Leah ve'Elohei Rachel Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim ve'Konei Hakol ve'Zocher Chasdei Avot ve'Imahot Umevi Geula Livnei Vneihem Leman Shmo Be'ahava Zochreinu L'chaim Melech Hafetz B'chaim Ve'zochot veinu Besefer HaChaim Lemancha Elohim Chaim Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechaye Hakol Atah Rav Lehoshia Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed Mechaye Hakol Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Verofech Olim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Mi Chamocha Ba'al Gevurot Umi Domelach Melech Meimit Umechaye Umatzmiach Yeshua Mi Chamocha Avarachamim Zocher Yetzurav Lechaim Berachamim Venemanata Leachayot Hakol Baruch atah Adonai Mechaye Hakol.
Page 53. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh u'kdoshim b'chol yom yalucha selah. You are holy, your name is holy. Seekers of holiness praise you day by day, selah. We join together in the bottom of that page. And so, in your holiness, give all creation the gift of awe. Turn our fear to reverence. Let us be witnesses of wonder, perceiving all nature as a prayer come alive. We bow to the sovereignty of your strength, the primacy of your power. We yearn for connection with all that lives, doing your will with wholeness of heart. Awe-inspiring is your creation, all-encompassing your transcendent name. Please be seated. We continue together in the middle of page 54. And so, in your holiness, give your people the gift of honor. Bless with praise those who praise you. Bless with hope those who seek you. Give your believers a basis for faith, true happiness for the land of Israel, true joy in Jerusalem. May the sparks of David, your servant, soon grow bright enough for us to see, a beam of light in the darkness, a promise of perfection. We continue on page 56 together. And so, in your holiness, give the righteous the gift of a vision bright with joy, a world where evil has no voice, and the rule of malevolence fades like wisps of smoke. Good people everywhere will celebrate the stunning sight of arrogance gone from the earth. Page 62. Vatiten lanu Adonai Eloheinu ba'ava et Yom HaKippurim hazeh. In your love, eternal our God, you've given us this Yom Kippur, a day on which our wrongs are forgiven with love, a day of sacred assembly, a day to be mindful of our people's going out from Egypt. Together, our God and God of the generations before us, may a memory of us ascend and come before you. May it be heard and seen by you, winning your favor and reaching your awareness. Together with the memory of our ancestors, the memory of your sacred city, Jerusalem, and the memory of your people, the family of Israel, may we be remembered for safety, well-being, and favor, for love and compassion, for life and for peace on this day of atonement.
We continue on page 63. Like smoke above the altar, may a memory of us ascend and come before you. As Israel once came to you with offerings from the flock, so we bring to you the offerings of our mouth, not lip service, but heartfelt prayer. So the prophet taught, return, O Israel, to Adonai your God, for you have fallen because of your sin. Take words with you and return to Adonai. Accept the words we set before you, awkward and imperfect as they are. Our hesitant questions are corrosive doubts, except too our silences. Our thoughts that rise in the stillness, our faith that coerces for a fragile instant, then dissipates like smoke above the altar.
On the top of page 64. Zochreinu Adonai Eloheinu bo letova, ufoktenu vo livracha, v'hosheinu vo lechayim. Eternal our God, remember us, be mindful of us, and redeem us for a life of goodness and blessing. Together, favor us with words of deliverance and mercy. Show us the depth of your care. God, we await your redemption, for you reign with grace and compassion. I invite you to continue individually on looking at pages 67, 69, and 71, and maybe finding a prayer or reading that speaks to you.
We continue on page 72 with Ritze.
To feel
continue on page 79. You'll notice on that page there are two choices of readings, grant us peace or eternal source. I invite you to choose one of those readings, or feel free to offer the prayer that's in your heart as we pause in silent reflection.
We continue with Shalom Rav on page 78.
We continue on page 82 with our vidui, our confession. Our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence. And when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, we are arrogant and stubborn, claiming to be blameless and free of sin. In truth, we have stumbled and strayed. We have done wrong.
Ay, 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 Ashamnu,
Ashamnu,
Bagadnu,
Bagadnu,
Gazalnu,
Gazalnu,
Dibarnu Dofi, Dofi.
Dibarnu dofi. Ay, 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 He'evinu
Vehirshanu
Vehirshanu
Zadnu
Zadnu
Chamasnu
Chamasnu
Tafalnu Shaker
Tafanu Shaker
Ay 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 Ya'atznura
Ya'atznura
Kizavnu
Kizavnu
Latznu
Latznu
Maradnu
Maradnu
Ni'atznu
Ni'atznu
Ay 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 Sararnu
Sararnu
Avinu
Avinu
Pashanu
Pashanu
Tsararnu
Tsararnu
Kishinu Oref
Kishinu Oref Ay 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 ay
Rashanu
Rashanu
Shichatnu
Shichatnu
Tiavnu
Tiavnu
Tainu
Tainu
Titanu
Titanu Ay 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 We continue together on page 86. On the top of the page, for these sins, our God, we ask forgiveness, the ways we have wronged you deliberately and by mistake, and harm we have caused in your world through the words of our mouths, the ways we have wronged you by hardening our hearts, and harm we have caused in your world through careless speech, the ways we have wronged you through lies and deceit, and harm we have caused in your world through gossip and rumor, the ways we have wronged you by judging others unfairly, and harm we have caused in your world through disrespect to parents and teachers, the ways we have wronged you through insincere apologies, and harm we have caused in your world by mistreating a friend or neighbor, the ways we have wronged you through violence and abuse, and harm we have caused in your world through dishonesty in business. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. Page 88, we continue together. The ways we have wronged you openly and secretly, and harm we have caused in your world by losing self-control. The ways we have wronged you through sexual immorality, and harm we have caused in your world through consumption of food and drink. The ways we have wronged you by giving in to our hostile impulses, and harm we have caused in your world through greed and exploitation. The ways we have wronged you through cynicism and scorn, and harm we have caused in your world through arrogant behavior, page 90. The ways we have wronged you by hating without cause, and harm we have caused in your world through offensive speech. The ways we have wronged you with a slanderous tongue, and harm we have caused in your world through a selfish or petty spirit. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. Page 93. God, our Creator and Guide, let us speak now of the healing acts by which we bring you into the world, the acts of repair that make you a living presence in our lives. Al hatikun v'tikanu lefanecha, for the act of healing we have done openly or anonymously, and for the act of repair we have done without personal gain. Al hatikun shetikanu lefanecha, for the act of healing we have done by seeking forgiveness, and for the act of repair we have done by forgiving others. Please join me. Al hatikun shetikanu lefanecha, for the act of healing we have done through righteous giving, and for the act of repair we have done by opening our hearts. Al hatikun shetikanu lefanecha, for the act of healing we have done by comforting the mourner and visiting the sick, and for the act of repair we have done by pursuing justice and human rights, fairness and civility. Al hatikun shetikanu lefanecha, for the act of healing we have done by making peace between one person and another, and for the act of repair we have done by protecting nature and all its creatures. Al hatikun shetikanu lefanecha, for the act of healing we have done by teaching our children the ways of peace, and for the act of repair we have done by teaching our children the ways of Torah. Al hatikun shetikanu lefanecha, for the act of healing we have done by honoring elders and loving the stranger, and for the act of repair we have done in response to your commandment, choose life and blessing, va'ala kulam. And all these bring nearer the day when you shall be one, and your name shall be one. Page 96. We join together. Let our needs rise up with the darkness, our cries with the rays of the sun. All day our praise is before you, songs of joy and bliss till evening comes. May our voices soar at nightfall, our just deeds shine forth with the light. All day we await deliverance, fervent our hope for redemption till evening comes. Let our suffering ascend at twilight, our forgiveness with the break of dawn. All day we sigh from oppression, cry out for right and justice till evening comes. May there be a refuge when night surrounds us, at sunrise safe haven for your sake. All day our words rise from a sea of sorrow, and they break in waves of atonement till evening comes. Let evening bring salvation, let morning make all hearts pure. This day our prayers spell healing, peace, peace to all, far and near, till evening comes. May mindfulness of us rise with the evening star, our worthy deeds revealed in the radiance of dawn. All day we meditate on life's beauty, the precious jewels of creation, till evening comes. Let our pounding on the gates of mercy thunder on high as darkness falls, and with dawn let the joy of renewal arrive. The day holds the urgency of our prayers, confessions of the heart, lamentations of the soul, till evening comes. May our yearnings rise above the shadows of dusk. May the searching of our souls reach you in the morning. All day our praise is before you. May it be acceptable, may it be received, till evening comes.
We continue on page 98.
Shema
continue on page 105. In all your ways be aware of God, for there is no sovereign without a people, a melech below am. We are the chariot on which God's glory rides, for there is no sovereign without a people. Let the love of God be spread through our deeds, for there is no sovereign without a people. You are my servant Israel. I'll be glorified through you, for there is no sovereign without a people. Where is God? Anywhere we let God in, for there is no sovereign without a people. A melech below am. Eternal God, revealed to Moses your 13 attributes of mercy. They exist in the world through our awareness. They transform the world through our actions. We speak them now as prayer and aspiration.
Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum Vechanun, Erech Apayim Verav Chesed Ve'emet, Notzer Chesed La'alafim, Noseh Avon Va'afisha, Vechata'a Ve'nakeh.
Adonai, Adonai, God compassionate, gracious, endlessly patient, loving, and true, showing mercy to the 1000th generation, forgiving evil, defiance, and wrongdoing, granting pardon. We continue on page 112. Please rise if you are able. Avinu Malkeinu, ha'er lanu et derech hayinu. Avinu Malkeinu, illumine for us the path of our life. Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we find the strength to take the road less traveled by? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we come to know the purpose of our existence? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we learn not to live life in vain? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we get out of our indifference? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we distinguish between truth and falsehood? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we find the answers to our questions? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we gird ourselves with strength to seek answers? Avinu Malkeinu, chonenu va'anenu, chazkenu ve'amatzenu, ki v'cha v'imcha hatshuvot. Avinu Malkeinu, be gracious to us, answer us, empower us, and give us courage, for the answers are both in you and with you. We continue together on page 114. Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, hear our voice. Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you. Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and on our families. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror. Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the book of lives well lived. Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us a year of goodness. Avinu Malkeinu, let our hands overflow with your blessings. Avinu Malkeinu, let our eyes behold the dawn of redemption. Avinu Malkeinu, we pray, do not turn us away from you with nothing. Avinu Malkeinu, welcome our prayer with love, accept and embrace it. Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us as befits your name. Avinu Malkeinu, act for your sake, if not for ours. Avinu Malkeinu, you alone are our sovereign. Avinu Malkeinu, let the gates of heaven be open to our prayer. Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice, treat us with tender compassion. Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love.
Avinu
When I was a child, I felt that there was a certain mystery surrounding Kol Nidre. The early big meal, dressing up, going to the synagogue, the excitement of seeing friends. Then the moment of sitting down as the clergy would process up to the bima. It felt all very formal and official. The rabbi's booming voice and hearing the incredible tone of our childhood cantor, a beautiful baritone voice, chanting with a cry, Kol Nidre. The especially long 50-minute sermons that would cause us to get a little stir-crazy. So I'm hearing whining later. Resulting in that look that only mom could give you. I recall the serious energy I felt around the congregation, the choir singing Adon Olam at the end, and the disappointment that there was no babka because there was no oneg on Kol Nidre. But as a child, I felt like I was not in on the big secret of Kol Nidre. And then I learned something in my studies that never occurred to me and helped me understand the mystery a bit more. You see, Yom Kippur is a time when we Jews are to embrace our own death. Yom Kippur, in fact, is a dress rehearsal for our own death. The rabbis teach that Yom Kippur is Yom HaMitah, the day of death. We are emptied, without our basic needs to remind us of life. No food, no drink, no sex, no perfume, no comfortable leather shoes. Yes, we wear white, but traditionally we would wear a kittel, a shroud, which says, "This is what I will wear when I die." So too, the Hebrew verb used for the action of putting on shoes is lin'ol. This verb literally means to close, to lock, or to shut. We are familiar with this verb from the Ne'ilah service that takes place at the very end of Yom Kippur. At Ne'ilah, of course, we are speaking about Ne'ilat She'arim, or the locking of the gates of repentance. The founding dean of the rabbinic school at Hebrew Union College, Rabbi Dr. Arthur Green, once connected, actually it was Hebrew College, not Union, Dr. Arthur Green once connected these two actions. He taught that at the end of Yom Kippur, our priority should not just be on Ne'ilat She'arim, the closing of the gates of repentance, but also on Ne'ilat Sandal, retying our shoes. For after experiencing our own deaths, we put on our shoes symbolically, ending this reenactment of death, which is why Ne'ilah is such a powerful service and fitting that it follows our Yizkor service. After Ne'ilah, we consider what our first steps will be upon leaving the sanctuary. Our tradition recognizes how we all struggle with the idea of death. Our grieving rituals are brilliant and powerful because they assist us in the grieving process and help us to move along emotionally. Having this reenactment of our death on Yom Kippur is supposed to prepare us for what will eventually happen. It is to help us have an alternative view to death as opposed to the normal way we usually deal with death, which is through either denial or fear. There's a famous story in the Talmud of when Rav Nachman was dying. He begged Rava to implore the angel of death not to torment him. Rava replied, "But Master, are you not esteemed enough to ask him yourself?" Rav Nachman considered this for a moment and then pondered aloud, "Who is esteemed, who is regarded, who is distinguished in the face of death himself?" Then after he died, Rav Nachman appeared to Rava in a dream. "Master, did you suffer any pain?" Rava asked. Rav Nachman replied, "Almost none. Still, if the Holy One were to say to me, 'Go back to that world,' I would not consent, the fear of death being so great." The fear of death is great. It is for many of us. I think what we fear the most is the unknown. And right up there is the fear that we could experience tremendous pain physically, and we could cause tremendous pain emotionally for our loved ones when we are dying. That is why it is important for us to have some semblance of control at the time of death. That is what the right to a compassionate death is all about. Not having to go through extra torture and pain for ourselves going through it, and for family having to witness it. So what is the Jewish view on the right to die? Well, you know what? We have to start with our tradition, don't we? we should always start with our tradition. And our tradition has a number of assumptions. The first assumption in our tradition is pikuach nefesh, preservation of life, which is considered to be of paramount importance, surpassing virtually all of the other commandments of the Torah. In fact, one must violate Yom Kippur's prohibition on eating or the laws of the Sabbath, or even, I'm sorry to say it, on this evening, you must even eat non-kosher food if there is the slightest chance that human life may be preserved or prolonged. If you are on a desert island and the only thing to eat is a BLT, our tradition teaches that you must eat that BLT. The second assumption our tradition has is that the quality and or duration of the life being saved is irrelevant. Life is of infinite, not relative value. The third assumption traditional Judaism makes is that it rejects the notion of unlimited personal autonomy. Our bodies and our lives are not our own to do with as we will. They are temporarily given to us by God. Traditionally speaking, we borrow our bodies from God and we have to return them when we are done. That is why there are prohibitions against piercing and tattooing. That is also why we perform tahara, the ritual washing of the body before burial. We should return our body to God in the best possible condition. The fourth assumption is that Judaism rejects the notion that the utilization of advanced technology to sustain life is somehow an interference with God's will. Technology and scientific advancement are viewed as gifts of divine revelation to be used for the benefit of humankind. These four factors, standing alone, would surely argue against any right to die and would support an absolute affirmative obligation to prolong life at all costs, regardless of pain and indeed regardless of the patient's expressed wishes. This is, in fact, the position associated with the eminent Talmudist and bioethicist Rabbi Dr. J. David Bleich of Yeshiva University. But it is, however, a decidedly minority position. Halakha, Jewish law, as all well-developed ethical systems, cannot and does not focus on a single moral value to the exclusion of others, but seeks to balance, accommodate, and prioritize a multiplicity of ethical concerns. Just as there is a mitzvah, a divine obligation to prolong life, there is a mitzvah to alleviate pain and suffering. But what happens if one value can be achieved only at the expense of another? Consider the patient suffering terminal cancer whose life could be prolonged for no more than 6 months, but only at the cost of painful, debilitating chemotherapy, or the elderly stroke victim who falls prey to pneumonia, which will kill him swiftly and relatively painlessly overnight, but is easily treatable by antibiotics. May the patient decline the chemotherapy or the antibiotics to achieve a quicker, less painful death? Or is the mitzvah, bikuach nefesh, preservation of life, so absolute that allows no exceptions? Most rabbinical authorities like Rabbi Moshe Feinstein have sanctioned the patient's right to decline treatment, provided a number of very specific conditions were met. First, the patient must be in a terminal condition. That is, whether the treatment is employed or not, the patient is not expected to live beyond a year. Second, the patient suffers unbearable pain and suffering. Third, the patient has indicated that he or she desires not to be treated. In the event the patient is incompetent or unable to communicate her decision, next of kin may make such a decision based exclusively on what they feel the patient would have wanted. Fourth, assuming the above three conditions are met, the patient may decline surgery, chemotherapy, and painful invasive treatments, but may not decline food, water, or oxygen, which are the normal sustainers of life, the withdrawal of which may be tantamount to murder or suicide. Antibiotics may also fall under the food category because they are generally a non-invasive, non-painful procedure. There's also some question whether tube feeding falls in the category of food or in the category of surgery. Most would place it in the former, but emphasize that even if the patient is halakhically obligated to take artificial nutrition, he should not be force-fed or physically restrained. In no event may the patient or the physician take any affirmative step that would hasten death. Active euthanasia, regardless of motive, is halakhically equivalent to murder. On the other hand, Halakha would view both the goals and methods of hospice in a very sympathetic light. Traditional Judaism thus attempts to strike a balance between the great mitzvah of prolonging life and the recognition that life may become unbearably difficult and painful. So we now understand a bit more what traditional Judaism says about our right to die. But we are Reformed Jews. We're not a movement bound by halakha. Oh yes, it gets a vote, but it does not get veto power. On Rosh Hashanah, I shared with you Dr. Alvin Reines' Freedom Covenant. The Freedom Covenant has an important application in this discussion. Remember, the Freedom Covenant is the idea that you have the right to believe whatever you want to believe, so long as you don't take that right away from another. Well, what if we were to expand that concept to our bodies? You have the right to do whatever you want to your body, so long as you do not take that right away from another. So long as we are not having to deal with another's bad decision, like not wearing a helmet on a motorcycle, then it can work. If we accept the premise of the Freedom Covenant, then the issue of the right to die becomes easier. You have the right to do whatever you want to do to your body. Atul Gawande, a wonderful writer, and I recommend the book Being Mortal, wrote, quote, in 2008, the National Coping with Cancer Project published a study showing that terminally ill cancer patients who were put on a mechanical ventilator, given electrical defibrillation or chest compressions, or admitted near death to intensive care had a substantially worse quality of life in their last week than those who received no such interventions. And 6 months after their death, their caregivers were 3 times as likely to suffer major depression. Spending one's final days in an ICU because of terminal illness is for most people a kind of failure. You lie on a ventilator, your every organ shutting down, your mind teetering on delirium, realizing that you will never leave this borrowed fluorescent place. The end comes with no chance for you to have said goodbye, or it's okay, or I'm sorry, or I love you. People have concerns besides simply prolonging their lives. Surveys of patients with terminal illness find that their top priorities include, in addition to avoiding suffering, being with family, having the touch of others, being mentally aware, and not becoming a burden to others. Our system of technological medical care has utterly failed to meet these needs, and the cost of this failure is measured in far more than dollars. The hard question we face, then, is not how we can afford the system's expense. It is how we can build a healthcare system that will actually help dying patients achieve what's most important to them at the end of their lives. Gawande goes on to say, I spoke to Dr. Susan Block, a palliative care specialist at my hospital, who has had thousands of these difficult conversations and is a nationally recognized pioneer in training doctors and others in managing end-of-life issues with patients and their families. You have to understand, Block told me, a family meeting is a procedure and requires no less skill than performing an operation. One basic mistake is conceptual. For doctors, the primary purpose of a discussion about terminal illness is to determine what people want, whether they want chemo or not, whether they want to be resuscitated or not, whether they want hospice or not. They focus on laying out the facts and the options, but that's a mistake according to Block. A large part of the task is helping people negotiate the overwhelming anxiety. Anxiety about death, anxiety about suffering, anxiety about loved ones, anxiety about finances. There are many worries and real terrors. No one conversation can address them all. Arriving at an acceptance of one's mortality and a clear understanding of the limits and the possibilities of medicine is a process, not an epiphany. There is no single way to take people with terminal illness through the process. But according to Block, there are some rules. You sit down, you make time, you're not determining whether they want treatment X versus Y. You're trying to learn what's most important to them under the circumstances, so that you can provide information and advice on the approach that gives them the best chance of achieving it. This requires as much listening as talking. If you are talking more than half of the time, Block says, you're talking too much. The words you use matter, and according to experts, you shouldn't say, "I'm sorry things turned out this way," for example. It can sound like pity. You should say, "I wish things were different." You don't ask, "What do you want?" when you are dying. You ask, "If time becomes short, what is most important to you?" Block has a list of items that she aims to cover with terminal patients in the time before decisions have to be made. What they understand their prognosis to be, what their concerns are about, what lies ahead, whom they want to make decisions if they can't, how they want to spend their time as options become limited, what kinds of trade-offs they're willing to make. 10 years ago, her 74-year-old father, Jack Block, a professor emeritus of psychology at the University of California at Berkeley, was admitted to a San Francisco hospital with symptoms from what proved to be a mass growing in the spinal cord of his neck. She flew out to see him. The neurosurgeon said that the procedure to remove the mass carried a 20% chance of leaving him quadriplegic, paralyzed from the neck down. But without it, he had a 100% chance of becoming quadriplegic. The evening before surgery, father and daughter chatted about friends and family, trying to keep their minds off of what was to come. And then she left for the night. Halfway across the Bay Bridge, she recalled, "I realized, oh my God, I don't know what he really wants. He made her his health care proxy, but they had never talked about such situations. And if they did, it was only superficially." So what did she do? She turned the car around, hopefully not on the bridge. Going back in was really uncomfortable, she said. It made no difference that she was an expert in end-of-life discussions. I just felt awful having the conversation with my dad. But she went through her list. She told him, "I need to understand how much you're willing to go through to have a shot at being alive, and what level of being alive is tolerable to you." We had this quiet, agonizing conversation where he said, and this totally shocked me, "Well, if I'm able to eat chocolate ice cream and watch football on television, then I'm willing to stay alive. I'm willing to go through a lot of pain if I have a shot at that." I would never have expected him to say that, Block went on. I mean, he's a professor emeritus. He's never watched a football game in my conscious memory. The whole picture wasn't the guy I thought I knew. But the conversation proved critical, because after surgery, he developed bleeding in the spinal cord. The surgeons told her that in order to save his life, they would need to go back in, but he had already become nearly quadriplegic and would remain severely disabled for many months and possibly forever. What did she want to do? I had 3 minutes to make this decision, and I realized he had already made the decision. She asked the surgeons whether, if her father survived, he would still be able to eat chocolate ice cream and watch football on television. Yes, they said. She gave the okay to take him back to the operating room. If I had not had that conversation with him, my instinct would have been to let him go at that moment, because it just seemed so awful, and I would have beaten myself up. Did I let him go too soon? Or she might have gone ahead and sent him to surgery, only to find, as occurred, that he survived only to go through what proved to be a year of very horrible rehab and disability. I would have felt so guilty that I condemned him to that, she said. But there was no decision for me to make, because he had decided. During the next 2 years, he regained the ability to walk short distances. He required caregivers to bathe and dress him. He had difficulty swallowing and eating, but his mind was intact and he had partial use of his hands, enough to write 2 books and more than a dozen scientific articles. He lived for 10 years after the operation. This past year, however, his difficulties with swallowing advanced to the point where he could not eat without aspirating food particles, and he cycled between hospital and rehabilitation facilities with the pneumonias that resulted. He didn't want a feeding tube, and it became evident that the battle for the dwindling chance of a miraculous recovery was going to leave him unable to ever go home again. So this past January, he decided to stop the battle and go home. We started him on hospice care, Block said. We treated his choking and kept him comfortable. Eventually, he stopped eating and drinking. He died about 5 days later. The simple view is that medicine exists to fight death and disease, and that is, of course, its most basic task. Death is the enemy, but the enemy has superior forces. Eventually it wins, and in a war that you cannot win, you don't want a general who fights to the point of total annihilation. You don't want Custer. You want Robert E. Lee, someone who knew how to fight for territory when he could and how to surrender when he couldn't. Someone who understood that the damage is greatest if all you do is fight to the bitter end. More often these days, medicine seems to supply neither Custer's nor Lee's. We are increasingly the generals who march the soldiers onward, saying all the while, "You let me know when you want to stop." All-out treatment, we tell the terminally ill, is a train you can get off at any time. Just say when. But for most patients and their families, this is asking too much. They remain driven by doubt and fear and desperation. Some are deluded by a fantasy of what medical science can achieve. But our responsibility in medicine is to deal with human beings as they are. People die only once. They have no experience to draw upon. They need doctors and nurses who are willing to have the hard discussions and say what they have seen, who will help people prepare for what is to come and to escape a warehoused oblivion that few really want. I have personally experienced a beautiful hospice situation with my dad and the opposite with my mom as she was kept alive. It is horrible that we still can treat an animal with greater dignity at the time of death than a human being. That is why I'm so proud that our California legislation has worked for an End-of-Life Option Act, and the Assembly passed with bipartisan support, 44 to 35. Hopefully this bill will be signed by Governor Brown so that every Californian would be able to make end-of-life decisions that is right for them and their families, including the option to request a prescription from their doctor to shorten their dying process. As Jews, we embrace life, but so too we must embrace, not fear, our death. Not that we should be in such a hurry, but we deserve dignity, respect, and having our wishes met at the time of our death. On this Kol Nidre, as we reflect on our lives and our deaths, let us embrace the sacred power of this moment. Let us embrace the change that we are capable of making this time of the year, and may we feel the warmth and comfort of our sacred assembly. Amen.
Safe from harm. May the love of God be your shelter from
Leshana Tova. My name is Edgardo Laber, and I'm honored to be here representing Temple Emanu-El's Board of Trustees. It's a pleasure to see all of you here and to be sharing these high holidays observance with you as one congregational family. Please view the posters in the lobby for times and locations for all of the services and events taking place tomorrow. The high holidays continue after Yom Kippur with Erev Sukkot on Sunday, September 27th. We will have dinner and decorate the sukkah. Please bring your own dinner and a dessert to share. The evening will culminate with a Sukkot experience led by Rabbi Magad and Cantor Zimmerli. The senior youth groups, grades 9 to 12, will be having a sleepover in the Sukkah at Temple Emanu-El on Saturday, October 3rd, starting at 6 p.m. Bring your sleeping bag and enjoy the festival of Sukkot with awesome games, a ton of food, and you get to meet a whole bunch of Jewish teens. Erev Simchat Torah is on Sunday, October 4th. There will be a pizza dinner for all at 5 p.m. with appetizers and beverages provided by Sisterhood. This will be followed by a fun evening, including Israeli dancing and rolling the Torah around the sanctuary, and the consecration of new students in our religious school. Everyone is invited for this wonderful evening as we conclude the high holidays. The final high holiday service will be the Simchat Torah morning and Iskor service at 9 a.m. on Monday, October 5th in the chapel. Save the date for Shabbat in Nature on October 10th. The day will include Shabbat morning service, a potluck lunch, discussion, music, and group or individual hiking. No need to RSVP for this event, just come. We're going to Israel. Join Rabbi Magad on a guided trip to Israel on February 9 to 21st, 2016, and online registration is now open. I hope you are coming back for the Nehila service tomorrow at 5. We encourage you to bring your shofar so that we can surround the sanctuary with a communal blast. I encourage you all to stop by the volunteer table in the lobby and sign up to get involved in Temple Emanu-El. Please also visit the Shalom table for details on all of our upcoming events and activities. And last, but definitely not least, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I want to thank all of you who have already donated to Temple Emanu-El's annual campaign. We are so grateful for the generous support we receive each year from you, our fellow congregants. If you have not had a chance yet to make a donation this year, please note that campaign pledges cards are provided for you in your handout, and you can drop them in one of the 2 drop boxes in the lobby of the theater. All donation amounts are deeply appreciated. I wish you all a happy, healthy, and peaceful new year. May you have an easy fast and a good year. Leshana Tova.
Leshana Tova. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our amazing choir. Thank you so much for all your hard work and practice. I'd like to thank our choir director extraordinaire, Mary Linduska, our pianist, Misato. Thank you, Misato Weber. Our own Peter Gelfand on the cello, and our newest addition, for those of you who haven't heard, this is Alan. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Also, thank you to our sound people. Thank you. Awesome job.
And with that, we continue on page 117. Please rise if you are able. בסדר, אנחנו פה. לא צריך.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומשב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת זו בגבהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עד ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Page 119. May the time not be distant, our God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when lies and bigotry shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. So may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your dominion be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
Page 121. This holy night concludes with memory. Our last thoughts always are of those we have lost. We miss them especially tonight, yearning for their presence at our side. The servants we have shared once was theirs. They spoke and sang the ancient words. They prayed, repented, and yearned for better lives as we have done. Flawed in their deeds, imperfect in their faith, they still drew strength from their tradition as we seek fortitude in ours. What was good and beautiful in their lives once gave us joy and now inspires us to reach higher. The knowledge that they loved us deeply brings comfort to our hearts. So we light candles of remembrance and gratitude, and we speak this timeless truth, Zichronam Livracha. Their memory is a blessing now and forever. We pray that their goodness will live on in our lives, planting seeds of kindness and hope for generations to come. For our thoughts turn to those loved ones whom death has taken from us in recent days, and those who died at the season in years past. Our hearts open as well to the wider circles of loss in our community and wherever grief touches the human family. Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be a blessing in this new year and always. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חיותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה וזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעולם ולעלמי מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה משמיה וחיים עלינו ועל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום ממרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל ישראל ונקום נדם ואמרו אמן. Page 126, the one and only Adon Olam. If you need to sit, feel free, but we're almost done. 30, 40 more minutes.
Shemoni la, ve'acharei
ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu shetchadesh aleinu shana tova u'metuka, our God and God of our ancestors, eternal God of all generations, may your presence in our lives this new year renew our spirits and renew our strength. May it be a good year, may it be a sweet year, as we say, Amen. L'shana tova tikatevu v'techatemu. See you all tomorrow morning.